Rachael Griffith. I'm the owner and managing partner of Griffith Law Office in Tyler, Texas. Today I want to talk to you about child support. Child support in Texas is the obligation of the parents, and the court order will spell out which parent pays child support to the other parent. Typically, it's the parent who exercises a visitation schedule, the non-primary parent, the person who has a little less time than the other parent. And so Texas family law, the Texas legislature has set out a manner in which you calculate child support. They've updated it in the last couple years. Typically, you are looking at the obligor parent's net resources, so their income, any money they receive for disability is included, any money, net rental income if they have rental properties. It's not just wages. So you look at all income that they receive, and then you calculate a percentage against their net income after you take out taxes and Social Security and any costs for covering the kids on health insurance, and you apply a percentage. For one child with that parent, it's 20% of their net income. 2 children, 25, 3, 30. You go up 5% up all the way up to 50, depending on how many children you have with that parent. If you have children that you have a legal duty to support with another parent outside of this court order, it'll lower your child support percentage depending on the number of children you have outside of this relationship. Now, we're looking at that and calculating a monthly number. So if you are self-employed and your monthly number of your income changes greatly from one month to the next, to calculate your monthly number, we may come up with an average throughout the course of a year and try to figure out what would a good average be if we had to sum it up that way for the court to determine a monthly number, to get a monthly child support number. Because child support is due each and every month, whether or not you made a great income that month or otherwise. If you don't pay your child support before the month ends, you could be held in contempt at a later hearing if it's gone through a motion for enforcement for the child support order. So you need to be paying that child support on time. Child support will likely come out of your paycheck through your employer through an income withholding order. The clerk issues an income withholding order and they send it in the mail to the payroll department of your employer, and then they will take out of your check, based on how you're paid, an amount to satisfy that child support obligation. So if you're paid twice a month, they'll divide it out and figure out what would satisfy that obligation so that it's the equal amount on each paycheck. And that will go through the state disbursement unit down in San Antonio to track and register each payment so you get credit for each payment, and it'll go to the obligee parent that child support is owed to. And they can elect to receive it in a manner of different ways: direct deposit, a check. There's a few different ways they can receive it. Now, if you are not paid by a W-2 paycheck where you get a regular pay stub and you have a payroll department, if you're a 1099 employee or if you're self-employed, you will have the obligation of sending that child support payment through the state disbursement unit so that it can be tracked. I always advise my clients, don't pay it direct. And if you've done that in the past, look up what an affidavit of direct payment is on the OAG website and see if the other parent will sign that, saying that they did in fact receive the child support, so that you can get credit for it and it's not questioned at a later date. That is how we pay child support. If you are self-employed or have a complicated income scheme, then it may take a little more to calculate your child support payments. It may take a little more record keeping and going through and figuring out what your average income is. And so you need to talk to a lawyer about how to do that and make sure an accurate income is reflected so that you're not obligated to pay more child support than what is fair. A lot of self-employed persons have a lot of expenses for their business, and you shouldn't be credited with all this income if it takes quite a bit of expenses in order to generate that income, like paying employees, your rent, your equipment, any labor that you need for your business. Those things need to be taken into consideration for a self-employed person. Now, a few years ago, the Texas legislature came up with a different scheme of percentages for low-income individuals. So if you make around the poverty level, then you won't be subject to the 20% rule for one child. It goes down based on the number of children that you have if you are a low-income individual. There's also now opportunities to put workforce incentives in for people who are unemployed. The state has opportunities for you to go and participate in programs that might help you get a job. If you have another parent that's not paying child support and it doesn't seem like they're able to find work, maybe you can apply for the court to oblige them to attend these services so that they can find work and then begin paying their child support regularly. Now, if you don't pay your child support, you can be held in contempt if the other parent or the state files a motion for enforcement against you. What is contempt for child support? Usually they'll list out the months that you haven't paid, come up with a total amount that you owe, apply interest, and they'll ask the court, order you to pay that. Sometimes you can pay it out over the course of some months or years depending on the balance that's owed, and they'll usually ask for the court to put you in jail. And you can be held in contempt and jailed for up to 6 months, 180 days for each violation. Now, just depends on the judge on whether that's a likely outcome for the first enforcement for contempt, but certainly if you're subject to multiple motions for contempt, you're looking at a real possibility of jail time in the state of Texas for not paying your child support. You really need to pay attention to that obligation and satisfy it each and every month, and don't delay. Don't put other priorities above your children when it comes to your finances. Fancy vehicles, vacations, spending an exorbitant amount on significant others. The court will look at all of those things. When you come up to defend yourself and say, I couldn't pay it, they'll ask you, what have you been paying instead of your child support? And so really make it a priority and pay what your court order says. If you have a question about calculating child support or enforcing child support, please don't hesitate to call. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe for more.
A little bit, introduce yourself.
Hello, Rachael Griffith.